every night is a loose one. And every flight, you know that I put the crew on. You say that I drop top, well then tell me what you've done. Still in my winning phase, yeah, I've been away, are you entertained? Yeah, you got me, that's what I'm constantly summoning. I love the climb, I don't care where the summit. It's funny when people be saying I peak, retire, my parents, they live at the beach.
All right, welcome back to the Grind and Shine project. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Abbruzzese. This is Nick Abbruzzese, my brother.
What's up, guys?
So today we're going to be talking about constantly improving as either a business owner or a leader within a company, and why that's important to continuously growing and improving not only a company but your business, your life as well. Maybe you want to constantly improve as a father, or constantly improve as, a project manager or anything like that. You want to make sure that you're constantly improving, because then I feel like if you're stagnant and you're not doing something to constantly improve, it's like in our nature as humans to want to pursue things and keep going forward,
Yeah, I think, improving in any area of your life will also help you improve in other areas of your life simultaneously. So for us, helping improve ourselves in our business and professional life will only help us improve in our personal and family life and all that. There's so much carryover.
It's all intermingled.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about leadership. Leadership is such a big thing with business. It can carry over into family, friends, parenting, all of that. So there's a lot of carryover with trying to grow professionally and trying to, always evolve the business one way or another, always trying to just learn and grow, really just improve your life overall.
And I think it's important to also stay true to what, it's not being a stick in the mud. Staying true to your roots is like you're not trying to purposely stay where, like, we've always done it this way. We've always had this system and this process.
Yeah.
But it's also saying, like, hey, your roots could be, we've always, what made us who we are is we've always paid attention to all the little details. We've always loved to take care of our guys this way. We like doing things this way. So you know what? We're going to improve on that and implement new things, but stay true to those core values. And that's why I think having core values is so important. And you might not have them written on your wall or you're written in a document somewhere, but like you have them. And that's going to be the roots of your values in your company to keep implementing from and growing from.
Yeah. And here it's written down, the best businesses never stop evolving. Growth is about constantly refining how you operate. And I think that's really, true. I was just talking to one of the big GCs we do work with, and I think they bill out like $1 billion a year, thousands of employees. You'd think they got it all figured out, and the project manager I was speaking with was just saying how, like, things are breaking in there, and how he's trying to help implement some change and to fix things and to make systems smoother. And from my standpoint, I was like, oh wow, they must have it all figured out. After having that conversation, I realized it brings me back to, well, there's always things that are always going to be broken and need fixing. And even at their level of billing out $1 billion a year, of course they have things that are broken and need to be figured out. And it was like reassuring to know that it's not just us. But it could be a daunting feeling too if you look
Right.
at it the wrong way. Like, you try and work every day to figure things out and make things better, but in turn, they do get better. But there's just always more and new problems along the way that have to be solved. Which, if you're up for the task, it's a challenge accepted.
Yeah, I would say that the other thing is too, like, if you're not looking to the reason things break inside of a growing business is because the old systems work at a particular level, and we found that to be true too. So even with that GC, their old systems, while they may be super sophisticated and very dialed in, it's not going to get them to the to the next thing. And they realize that, and and people on their team are saying like, oh my God, like this worked for us for so long, but now we have to actually implement and grow and change different things. And we found the same thing over the last year for sure. Like all of the stuff we've implemented, all the software, all of the, now we're having a lot more meetings and touching base, and it's all relative to where you are in the journey. I think that it's not like, don't be hard on yourself if you see some company that's further down the road doing things that you're currently not doing. Just like grow into it. Realize that they're doing something that you want to be doing in the future, and then just slowly work your way towards it. I think that that's the biggest thing that I've had to recognize in this whole process is that everybody has their own timeline, and I feel like comparison is good, because we've always sat and with other business owners and like compared where we are to where they are, and how much maybe quote unquote like further behind we are. Yeah. And that drives us to go forward. But at the same time, don't let it be like comparison is the thief of joy. Like, understand you are making progress and you are implementing, but it might take you a different amount of time than somebody else.
Yeah. And a couple of things that I try and remind myself on a, if not daily, weekly basis, is, what got you here is not going to take you to the next place. So, what got us to this point is not going to take us to the next point that we're growing to. And I try and remind ourselves myself that at each stage that we're at. And I feel like that's so true. And then to piggyback off what you said, I forget the exact quote, but basically like, you can't look at somebody else's chapter 40 in their life and think that it's going to automatically work for you in your chapter 5, so to speak. Like if someone's 40 years into business versus you're 5 years into business, you're not going to have all the life experiences that they have or business experiences that they have where they are making it, quote unquote, look easy. But you see these people, and I'm guilty of it myself, and I'm like, man, how is he doing that at 42 years old? I'm only a couple years behind him. Meanwhile, he started a business when he was 18, and he's got a lot more years in front of him than I do. So definitely, it's tough not to compare yourselves to people. It's like, I don't know, nature, I guess. But at the same time, you have to just take a step back and realize that maybe these people just have a lot more reps than you do, and you're on the path. It's just they're further down the path than you.
It's good to compare yourself to people, because if you don't compare yourself, there's two ways that I know me and you look at it is A, comparing it to other folks that are in our sphere and in our network. We always say like, damn man, look at them. They're really doing it. And then as we're friends with them, we want to make sure that we can keep up with them. And I think that's a big driving factor. And the other thing is also comparing yourself to who you were either. And it's always like, compare yourself who you were yesterday and see if there was improvement. But like, you need to just make sure that you're like, when you look back, like I know when we look back on last year, the year before that, we're constantly iterating on newer versions of ourselves and our team too. Like it's incredible how much everybody has grown. And I think you'll see that too as your company grows, or as your team grows, or as your management skills grow, everything will start to get better, and you'll see like the changes that you can make. So I think we should talk about like some of the stuff that we do to, improve ourselves.
Sure. I know we've spoke about this before on maybe our podcast or others, but where we live in relation to New York City is on a good day, an hour and a half one-way ride in.
Yep.
Typically, I think if I had to guess the average, it'd be about 2 hours one way. So with those 2 hours, we made the most use of our time by just listening to podcasts. For a while, I didn't realize you could listen to it on like 1.25 or 1.5.
Yeah.
I could have got through a couple more, but I would just listen to self-improvement, business development, entrepreneurship podcasts, and that's 2 hours a day. That's 2 hours one way, which could potentially be 2 episodes essentially one way in, and then 2 hours on the way back, which is another 2. It's 4 hours a day of just listening to other people's stories or other people's points of view of how to improve myself and get better so that I can improve the business and my personal life. And then not to mention also, while we were on the jobs behind the machines, Gary Vee was a big one. He was like the first one I started listening to.
Yep.
And I remember it was back when he was doing Ask Gary Vee, and it was just people calling in or people writing in, asking questions, and him just sitting there answering the questions. And I remember, so it was like 2 hours in, obviously. I don't know, 4 hours of my workday between just stopping and talking to the guys and lunch and all that, and then 2 hours on the way back. It was a full school day worth of just 6 to 8 hours of just peppering myself with how to improve, how to get better, how to fix things, how to be a better person. And that has been a big one, I know, for you as well.
Yeah. I mean, we essentially, by listening to other people on a podcast, and I'm not saying like promoting our own stuff here, but like you brainwash yourself into being a better person than who you were. And another, the other component of that, so that's audio, but when you're looking at like a visual something, we were not really readers prior to all of this, and now I read every day, and it's always about self-improvement, and there's no shortage of books when you go and look for them online. So find a book that you're able to relate to a problem that you're currently having, and then find books on that. Read the books and just knock off 10 pages every day. 10 pages or 20 minutes or whatever it is. As long as you're making, again, don't hold yourself to something that is like unbearable. Just make your way through the book. And if you like audiobooks, then you do audiobooks instead of podcasts, or both, or everything. It's all encompassing in this journey of self-improvement. And I think that on that journey, reading books about leadership, starting your days off where you're getting the right information as soon as you can, and understanding that you need to improve on these things in order to be a better person for your team. And all of a sudden you start reading these things and you're like, wow, this is like, now all these problems are like, between reading and podcasts, it's like they're coming at us in like slow motion now, and we kind of know the answers. And then you get kind of like weirdly excited to see these problems. It's like, it's messed up, but like you see these problems, you're like, oh my God, I read that in a book. I know how to fix that. And then you can actually somewhat fix it instead of like spiraling your whole day into like misery and distraught, like.
Yeah. And if you're a Jocko fan, you'll get this reference where like problems come up. Good.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. And that's something I have been slacking on the last few months, has been my reading. So I want to use this podcast to hold myself accountable to getting back to it. Because my whole life, and I'll say I have not been a reader. I was only reading in school because I had to, take
grades.
a book test or whatever, book review. But the daunting view, the daunting thought of like looking at this book right here, it's probably 500 pages, and saying like, I'll never get through that. But if you just chip away at it, it's a corny thing, but how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Even if 10 pages is too much for you in the beginning, start with 5 pages. And you just do it 5 pages every day. Eventually you chip your way through it, and you get
like, holy
through
shit,
it,
I
and you're
finished
like,
the book.
holy shit, I finished it. Yeah. Now I look back on my bookshelf and I'm like, wow, I guess I am a reader now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and a few books, and feel free to reach out to us. We have great books that we've read we could easily recommend. If you're a business owner, E-Myth is a great one to start with, by Michael Gerber. That's a huge one. Anything Jocko Willink on leadership, anything John Wooden on leadership, John Maxwell, looking at one of his books right here.
Yep.
I mean, the list goes on and on, but feel free to reach out to us. We have read a lot of the early beginning books, and we could help guide someone if they're just starting out on where to
if
read.
if you're lost on where to go.
Because we just went through that ourselves, so it's still fresh in our brains. But yeah, reading has definitely helped us. But it comes down to reading and then actually implementing, just like these podcasts and everything else. With learning it is only half the battle. You have to actually implement it. And even if I wouldn't say we implemented everything 100% because it's just not the case. But, whatever the percentage is, even if it was a low percentage, 10%, let's just say, that 10% can bring massive change to your life.
Yeah.
In a short time.
Absolutely. And then just keep doing that 10% as often as you can. And then all of a sudden it'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe we made all these changes.
Yeah. Atomic Habits is another good book for that.
Oh,
he talks about the 1% change.
Yeah. Yeah. Where he's like, oh, if you're not a reader, then just practice every day by opening the book.
Yeah. He starts like really small. Yeah. Like going to the gym, just like walking into the gym.
Yeah. Seems a little walk silly, into the gym. Get on the treadmill for a little bit and then get off and then go home.
Yeah, because if you overdo it, like he said, if you go into the gym for the first time in 5 years and you go and have a really hard workout and you're sore for the next 5 days, well, now A, you're out of the gym for 5 days, and B, chances are you might not stick to that rigorous routine. You need to start simple and just really, really start slow to build that habit of actually doing it, and then build yourself up to where you can work out hard.
Yeah. So I guess just closing thoughts. Please feel free to reach out to us. We want to be a resource to anybody and all people that need any kind of help or any kind of guidance on anything. Like Nick said, we're on the same journey as everybody that's listening to this podcast, and we want to be helpful to those that are along the journey, as people have been helpful to us.
I was just going to say that we've gotten so much help and continue to get so much help along the way that you want to reciprocate it. You want to pass it on. It's like when someone buys you your Starbucks drink ahead of you or whatever.
Yeah.
You feel guilty, like you're like, okay, now I have to do this. So I'm definitely feeling that. I know you are too. So we would love to be helping anybody that we can, and we're very, I don't want to say we're at a point of we made it, because I don't know if we'll ever feel that way.
I don't think we ever will.
From the short period of time that we've been doing this, we've gathered some information to help someone who might just be just starting. So any feel free to always reach out to us. We want to be that guiding light to help people as we're being helped ourselves, and really just bring everybody up with us.
Yeah. So I guess the whole closing thing is just keep implementing, stay true to your roots on who you are as a person, but don't be afraid of changing, along the way, and growing and becoming better. Reach out to us. Please, feel free. We're always available.
Yeah, and feel free to always like, comment, share the show. Where we've gotten a lot of good feedback on it. It's something that takes time and planning for us to do something like this. So we'd appreciate it if you could just give us a thumbs up or something if you got a little enjoyment out of it. So thanks, guys.
Thanks. See you next time.